I'm walking around my office.
Okay.
I usually walk and talk at the same time. So, okay, I just start recording. So, so the one thing that makes you and I different is the words that come out of our mouth. So when you sit down with whoever, whether it's a client or it's a realtor, you have a very short window of time to make a first impression. And whatever that first impression is, they're going to decide whether they want to talk to you further or if they just want to walk away. Fair? I mean, first impressions are huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I
The
totally
problem,
agreed.
but the biggest problem that we face is that our perception of ourselves isn't the perception that everybody else has. So what do you think a realtor, just as a general rule, what do you think a realtor's perception of us is before we even say one word to them? Positive or negative?
Oh, that we just want their business. We're just doing it for their money.
So the term that you use when you talk like that is a term called leaning, like leaning on a table. Leaning is when you take your needs and you put them on to somebody else to fulfill them, whether it's personal or professional. So what we do as a whole, our industry, loan officers and originators, we lean on realtors. That's largely due in part to the fact that we have nothing of value to say. In our heads, we don't think we have anything valuable to say. We don't have anything that really differentiates us from everybody else because we all operate with the same product, rates, fees for the most part. It's a commoditized business. So how would you ever expect anybody to pick up the phone and sound different or unique or attractive to a realtor when you think that the only thing the realtor is thinking is they just want my business? So of course, why would a realtor talk to you, right?
Right.
So how do you get past that?
Talk to them about them. I would talk to the realtor about them, not even about business yet.
So there's a theme called frogging. When you ask them about their family relationship, or their family relationships, occupation, goals, that's called frogging. So what you find you end up doing is you ask a lot of questions about them to get them to like you. Well, I know a lot of realtors that I like, and I'm sure there's a lot of realtors that like me, but I've never gotten business for them, nor do I ever want business from them. Because in my mind, they're not referable people. They're nice people, but they're not referable. And so it circles back to when I speak to the agents, when I have conversations with them, I'm after one thing and one thing only. I'm looking for a wow. I'm looking for a thank you. I'm looking for some type of appreciative response from them. If you knew that every time you picked up the phone or sent an email that you got a thank you, how would that make you feel?
Awesome.
If you knew that at the end of every one of those thank yous, you actually asked them for help and they helped you by referring you, how would that then make you feel?
Even more awesome.
Make you feel validated, wouldn't it? It would really make you feel validated. It would really kind of bring the circle, it would really bring the ends of the circle together and close it. Well, instead of a circle, I'm going to teach you the concept of what's called the triangle of trust. My concept is what my business was built on. It might even be the logo that Zach is using, but it's basically so that picture of the triangle is my business model. My business model was predicated on this philosophy, and this is the concept first, and then we'll talk more about how you articulate that to people. So I'm sitting, and you go by Katie, is that correct?
I do.
Okay. My daughter's name is Katie, that's why I asked.
Okay.
You have to understand, I deal with like 30 people, 35 people a week, and sometimes I get names mixed up, and if I say somebody's name incorrectly, I feel bad. So I try to make sure I, don't forget it. So now I've related you to my daughter, so we're in good shape.
Awesome.
So the concept of the triangle of trust is really probably the closest thing to what every person in our life, in any business, if they care about people, is trying to accomplish. So the triangle of trust is really like this. So Katie, if you and I are working together and I'm trying my best to help you achieve your goals, wants, and needs, it would also be fair to say that at some point, you're going to go back to Zach and say thank you.
Absolutely.
Because there has been a deposit that I've made in you, and if it wasn't for Zach's introduction to me, you and I would never be talking.
Correct.
So what you have here is 3 individuals, 3 different relationships, and if you really pay attention to how this works, it's pretty amazing. So I would always say to my clients when I met with them for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I am so thrilled at you coming in and meeting with me. I have to be brutally honest with you, though. I'm not sure I'm going to be the best person for your lending needs, and you may be, you may figure that out, or I may figure that out. But at the end of this conversation, all I care about is being able to help you figure out what your goals, wants, and needs are, and to come up with a plan. And whatever that plan is, if it involves me or not, is really insignificant to me at this point. See, my number one concern is for you to go back to Zach and say thank you. See, I believe that if I do a great job in answering all of your questions, goals, and needs around what's important to you, you'll go back to Zach and say thank you. And what happens when you do that? Well, your relationship with him improves because you put a lot of faith and trust in somebody to give you the best advice, and I personally don't take that lightly. So if I get you to go back to him and say thank you, it really does say that my relationship with you has been, amplified. It means that I'm doing a great job, and that means you and I must have a really good relationship. Regardless of whether or not we work together, my relationship with you is really strong because you can trust me. But more importantly, your relationship with Zach has been amplified because now you see him as somebody who truly cares about you and gives you the right advice. That's a big deal to get from somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the best part about this is that my relationship with Zach is amplified. See, Zach is already an advocate of my business. Otherwise, he wouldn't have referred you to me.
Right.
And just by taking care of you, I've inherently expanded my business because Zach is going to refer me to somebody else that he cares about. And undoubtedly, if we choose to work together, you will become an advocate of my business. And I hope someday to have that favor repaid to you, have somebody coming back to you and say thank you. That's the way that my business works. I call it the triangle of trust. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I like
so
it
when you sit down, Kate, so when you sit down with somebody, Katie, every time you meet with a realtor or a consumer, you can turn that conversation into either A, why you should work with me as a lender-realtor relationship because of how you can amplify the relationship between the realtor and the client, and if it's a client working with you, how you can become trustworthy and much more than just a commodity because you're diagramming out what every human being is after. They want to believe that you care more about them than you do about yourself. And the illustration of using Zach in this particular case amplifies it without question. It makes it abundantly clear that my mission is to have you go back to Zach and say thank you, irregardless if we work together. Now, the cool part about that is that unless I don't have the product, every client ends up working with me, even though I tell them that they may or may not want to or choose to, or I may not want to or choose to work with them either. The triangle of trust is just a different way to explain how much I care, how much you can trust me, why I'm the best person for the job, without making it all about me. See, I've turned the story around and made it all about the realtor, and I've made it all about the client. That's what resonates with people. That's what gets people to go, oh my gosh, I love it. That's exactly the kind of person we want to work with. I don't want to learn all this stuff. I don't need to learn all this stuff. It's intimidating. I just want somebody to tell me what is going to happen and how it's going to happen and just have my back. You've been in the business long enough. Katie, how many people you know will just want that feeling and that feeling alone?
Everyone.
Literally, right? Everyone.
Yes. Yes, anyone.
It's amazing. Anyone. Everybody is the same. We're all creatures of emotion. We all want to feel like the people that we work with, we can trust. I don't have the capacity to sit in somebody else's chair at a job and learn what it is to do what they do just because I want to experience it for one day. I want somebody just to hold my hand and go, I got you. Don't worry about it. This is going to be fine, and here's the result at the end of it. It's like flying on an airplane. I don't want to know what goes on up in the cabin. I just want to make sure the flight attendants are courteous. I want to make sure the seats are comfortable. I want to make sure we get to our destination on time. And if by chance there's turbulence, just tell me we're going to hit some and tell me everything's going to be okay. And you know what happens? I'll probably will fly again with that.
Right, right.
The message here for you today is really simple. You have a chance every time you pick up the telephone, every time you send an email, you can choose to simply transmit information from your side of the transaction to somebody else. That's what most people do. They transmit information. The problem with that is that that's the commoditization of our business. That's what everybody does. And unless you're prepared to spend a lot of money to go out there and cultivate leads, the best way that I have found is to create relationships that evoke reciprocity. Evoke reciprocity in my book means that if you say thank you to me, I'm going to say thanks for noticing. Could you do me a favor? You know that my business is 100% built on people referring me. I would love to work with somebody who you care about. I don't need to do their mortgage. I just would love a chance to talk to them. And I promise you that whatever person you put in front of me, I guarantee that they will come back to you and say thank you, and you know how good that's going to feel. If you had that conversation with every person that ever said thank you to you, and you set the stage up at every new client appointment, whether Zach says it or not, and you start the conversation off with, just so you are aware, because this is not about Zach's business as much as it is about yours with this conversation. Because much the same way that my business grew, I became so over the top with each one of my clients that I had a chance to work with that they stopped referring my boss. They started referring me. Now, Zach wants that.
Okay.
Because that gives him a chance to go in another direction. You're never going to take all of the business. It's just going to give him the freedom to hire somebody else to assist you so that you can spend more time building up more relationships, and eventually you'll be at a place where you'll be exactly where you want to be. But the goal is that every client who you become connected with, you're being connected intentionally. You're doing it with deliberation. Or you're being deliberate. Not deliberation, but you're being deliberate. So every time you pick up the phone, it isn't, hey, Mr. Johnson, good to see you, or it's great to talk to you. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, listen, we're in need of a W-2 or a pay stub or a bank statement or VOE or VOL, VOD, LOX. I don't care what it is. The point is that that's what everybody does. But if you had had the conversation with the client about the business and the triangle of trust and what it means to work with somebody like you and Zach, then the moment they say thank you for fulfilling that request or helping them meet that request or helping them with a problem or a challenge that you and I both know that you can solve, you know that you're going to get a thank you. I mean, honestly, Katie, how many times a day do you hear the word thank you from clients? More than once, I bet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well then think about this from 1 minute. If you have more than one thank you happening a day, so let's say twice a day, that's 10 thank yous a week, you could honestly be having 10 conversations with people that say, listen, don't keep me a secret. I'm counting on people just like you to refer me to the people they care about. And here's an interesting statistic that I'll share with you. And this is 20 years of my history in the business, and I'm on the Bible. I swear it's true. It's amazing. There are literally 20% of the people you talk to will never refer you. They just won't. They're just that kind of person. They're more introverted. They're less conversational. They just don't talk much at all. They could go to an amazing restaurant and they'll never say a word to anybody.
Right.
There's 20% more that are the social maidens, the raving fans. These are the people that you literally can say hi to them and they think you walk on water and they just refer you to everybody. You know these people, very extroverted, very boisterous, very loud, very much in the center of everything.
Yep.
We know those people.
We do.
And what's left is the 60%ers. The 60%ers I would call my friends. These are the people that, if they knew you needed help, would gladly help you because you've helped them. And all they need from you is a request. All they need from you is the expectation that that's what your goal is. All they need from you is to remind them. So the process is very simple. Your initial conversation has to create an expectation. Your expectation is that they're going to refer you. What your expectation of them is that they're going to refer you, but you know what their expectation of you is? Everything that Zach promised. You're going to be held to a standard to deliver the time, the rate, the fee, the cost, everything as expected, and you have all the expectations of the world placed on you. But those 60%ers, as you perform your job, if they acknowledge you, will gladly help you if you ask. But nobody's ever taught anybody how to ask. Nobody's ever taught anybody when to ask. Nobody's ever taught them why to ask. And the whole message here is that the triangle of trust concept, philosophy, and application is really just about connecting people in a way that doesn't make it all about you. It puts the responsibility of what you do on the shoulders of everybody else because they understand how good of a job you do and they understand why they want to work with you and they understand how you're going to do it. Is this making sense?
Makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Totally makes sense. Absolutely makes sense.
Does it sound a little goofy?
No, it's making me think of all the opportunities I've already missed. It's giving me anxiety.
Well, we got to start somewhere. We got to start somewhere.
No, yeah, it's totally making sense.
So what this is for me was, this was the alignment of my heart and my head. This was the alignment of what my heart tells me I'm feeling, what my head doesn't understand how to articulate, and putting it into a mixing bowl, and it comes out with the triangle of trust. It's the reality of what makes me different is my ability to communicate my value differently than everybody else. Listen, it's my ability to communicate my value differently than everybody else. It has nothing to do with rate, has nothing to do with fee. There are rate shoppers. You're always going to have to be competitive. But the perception of value when people ask you about rates is more about your lack of ability of defining your own value to them than it is them asking you about rates.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The problem is that so many of us are focused on rate every day because that's all we see, so that when rates go up, we panic. The consumer doesn't know it. But in our heads, we believe that that's how we are judging ourselves. We don't judge ourselves by what the consumer judges us, so we show up to our clients judging us by what we think and perceive that to be what the client thinks. Don't get me wrong. Rates are important. Rates and fees are all necessary conversations, but they are had on my time, not theirs. See, I believe my number one value in what I do is my ability to consult with people. This whole conversation about the triangle of trust is the introduction of how good of a consultant I am because I understand what my audience is looking for. I understand what their emotional needs are, and I understand the value that I bring to the table by honoring the people that have entrusted me to take care of somebody they care about. Right. I mean, it's heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm writing it all down.
I'm recording this, so you'll get the replay, so you can listen to it and take notes again if you want.
Okay, good. But, I mean, it's definitely making sense. And I can see why it works. Because no one else, I don't think, no one else is doing this.
Nobody.
No.
Nobody. Nobody. So
Yeah.
here's the commitment that I need from you.
Sure.
So Between now and next week, you're going to have umpteen different conversations with people. This conversation that I'm having with you is a result of 10, 15 years of me doing this. You can't expect to be as fluid. Nobody remembers what you say as much as they remember how you make them feel. The request that I have of you is to take this conversation, and though it's going to not sound perfect to you, the consumer is going to understand what you're saying to them. Your goal is in every conversation, whether you've talked to the client before or not, is to start the conversation off by saying, I have not done a good enough job in telling you why we do what we do. And in your own style, they're going to listen. And if it's somebody you've never talked to before, go before we get started, because I think we can get people to do more for us when they understand why we're doing it. If you understood why I was doing this for you, which is the triangle of trust, now you can see where I'm coming from, can't you? You can see why my conversation with you is so powerful for me. You can see why I'm so enthusiastic after I do this 30 times a week. You can see why this is so exciting for me. It's because I get a chance to have a guy like Zach, who I respect at the highest level, go, man, Doug, thank you. That takes it at a whole new level for me. That's what you need to get your clients to see. Your clients have to understand that your excitement and your enthusiasm and your dedication and your commitment to them isn't just about doing a job. And the 60%ers will see that, acknowledge it, and advocate you. And every time you connect with somebody and they refer you, that's one more person closer to you being where you want to be by the end of the year. And if you get enough of them, it's all downhill from there.
Right. That's the goal.
And I'm telling you right now, I was not the greatest loan officer on the planet. I probably was the worst loan officer on the planet. When it comes to the technical side,
Yeah.
I was awful. Like, I will be honest with you, and I'm confessing this, as God is my witness, I got in the business in 1995, and I stopped originating loans at the end of 2012. I have never once run a DOD or LP findings. Ever. Ever.
Ever?
Ever. Ever. 2012, I ended my career with $15 million in loan volume and 63% of it from past client and current client referrals.
Wow.
And I never ran, not because I didn't want to run DO, not because I didn't want to run the findings, but my team literally slapped my hand and say, you're just going to F it up. Do not touch it.
Right.
And they're true. And I would have. But you know what I was really good at? I was really good at building relationships and getting people to like me, trust me, and understand what I wanted and what I needed from them. And you know what they did? They advocated me to the friends and family and their coworkers and the other people in their life that they cared about. I will tell you, you don't have to be an awesome loan officer. What you have to be is an amazing originator to succeed in this business. And being an originator isn't about anything fancy. It's about connecting with people and getting them to feel like they understand why they're working with you.
Yeah,
and
that
I
makes
just
total
chose
sense.
the why not to be about rate and fees.
Right.
Because I wanted to work with fewer people and make more money. So my why was amplifying relationships. I didn't want everybody's why because I was the cheapest rate out there or the cheapest fees out there or that I guaranteed a closing in 20 days. I wanted it because everybody was my friend. I wanted my clients to know that they had a friend in the business.
Yeah, I need to do this. Well, because I keep doing the little bit, you know, like reminding my family members and my friends every so often, but I'm not doing it the proper way.
You're not being intentional, you're not being deliberate, and you're not setting the stage. So case in point, and this is the only example that I can give you to date. So there's a local bank around here that I used to bank with, and I went to them because they were open 7 days a week. And I joined them because they were open 7 days a week. I had a couple businesses, and I needed deposits on the weekend, and sometimes on Sundays if I had an event to do on Saturday.
Sure.
And every time I went in to deposit money, they would always say, "Hey, listen, if you refer a family or friend to me, we'll put $25 in your bank account." I'm like, "Oh, great, $25. I mean, $25 is $25."
Right.
I think I banked with them for 8 years. I never once referred them anybody. And you know why?
Because they just kept saying the same thing.
They never set the stage for me in the beginning that was an agreement that we had to have if I worked with them. They didn't set the stage by saying, being part of this bank, we only grow because our clients are compelled to want to tell their family and friends about us. So whenever you get a chance, we would be honored at that, at that right. But in doing so, the staff, every time you talk to them, they'll be seeking out ways to have you be happy and thrilled and then compelled to want to refer us. That's not what I was told when I signed my paperwork. Therefore, my agreement with them was, I bank with you, I pay my monthly service fee, I bank with you, I pay my monthly service fee, and that was the agreement. You can ask me to refer, you didn't bribe me with money, but it's not going to motivate me to do it because I didn't agree to it in the beginning. I'm not saying that nobody did. There's probably a large percentage of people that did because they wanted the $25.
Right.
But in this particular case, we don't have the ability of giving people money to refer us. So instead, it's kind of like, "Katie, I'm going to take you to a rock concert." And you're like, "Great, I could stand to go to see a rock concert." Your mind, it's Journey or REO Speedwagon or great, some classic rock band that everybody knows. I drag you to this concert, and it's death metal. I mean, it's mosh pits and people throwing things. I mean, it's just crazy. You're going to look at me and go, "I thought you were taking me to a rock concert." I go, "Well, this is rock. That's my definition of rock." And you're like, "Whoa, time out. That's not what I agreed to." You would feel a little bit of mistrust. Well, that's the point of setting the expectation up in the beginning. It's an agreement. It's an agreement that I'm going to do this for you because of Zach Karp. But my expectation of you, Katie, is that at the very least, you're going to go back to Zach and say thank you. And then my goal, if we work together, is that you're going to be compelled to want to refer us during the process because you're going to be talking to people about your appraisal, your home inspection, how excited you are at moving. We're going to be in touch, and I'm going to be doing things that are going to make you happy, and you're going to say thank you, and I'm going to make sure you always remind you because I care, and that's why I care, because Zach means the world to me, and I want to give you the same joy of getting a thank you from somebody you care about. They're all going to say yes. There has never been a client in my entire career that says, "You know what, Doug? I don't really like that. That doesn't really gel with me. I'm not a big fan." Now, you will find that people are still like, "Well, that's all fine and all, but I'm still more concerned about rate." Well, that's the 20%ers that you just got to go find. That's just who you are. You're never going to get 100 out of 100. Your goal is to get 60%. So if you have 10 people in your process, you should be able to have very easy conversations with 6 of them and have them respond with, "You know what, Katie, you're absolutely right. I just overheard my friend or my coworker talking to me about it." I'll give you another story, and this hits home for me personally. So my wife, who has been with me now for 2 years, she moved up here from West Palm Beach, Florida. I live in Detroit, which, yeah, if you can believe that. Not only did I get a West Palm Beach woman, but she's Cuban on top of it to move to Michigan. It's
oh my God!
How that happened, but I know, right? So when I look back at this, I'm like, I must be really, really good because every day she looks outside and goes, "There's still snow." She's like,
"Yeah, what am I doing here?"
Yeah, but look at me. I mean, look at what you got. What a great trade-off, right? But
That's funny.
the problem with being in a relationship like that, when she works in the business and she's the loan officer, she gets, it's hard to have conversations about business when you live together and are married together. So she gets all of my referrals. So I have a friend of mine, his name is Alan, who took over my database, who's, he's closing north of 10 million. He's only been in the business since 2013. And because my
Wow.
database and what I taught him is helping him grow. And Denise is getting my referral. I still get clients calling me after years saying, hey, Doug, we're looking to buy a house, or my brother or my aunt, uncle. So one of my good clients a couple months back refers me to a coworker of his. His name is Sebastian. Sebastian comes and says, hey, Doug, Constantine wanted me to talk to you about buying a house. Great, that's awesome. Let me have my wife call you, set up an appointment. So I have Denise, and I meet with them. I said, Denise, let me handle the first 15-minute presentation. This is what I call the doctor presentation. You're going to do the nurse. When you go see a doctor, you spend more time with the nurse than you do the doctor.
Correct.
And so it's like a 15-minute conversation that I have with the client in the beginning. I do my whole song and dance, and I leave. About an hour later, she comes back in my office. She sits down and she says, I got to be honest with you, Doug. That was a little uncomfortable. I said, really? She goes, yeah, you laid it on really thick. I go, okay. I said, that might be true, but it was only to drive home a message. But I want you to do something for me. Every time you talk to the client, promise me that you will ask them to not keep you a secret. Just say, please don't keep us a secret. We're counting on you. That's the only request I have. Fast forward 45 days, they're closing. They go to closing, and they're at the closing table, and they go, oh, Denise, Sebastian says to her, I've got a coworker who sits next to me who's buying a $450,000 house. I told him to call you, and he said, here, give her my number, and she can call me, and we'll get it started. I said, she says this to me. I go, that's so cool. I said, now here's the lesson that I want to learn. I want to learn, maybe you can learn too. Do you think that you got that referral because of my presentation? She goes, I go, well, let me rephrase it. If I did the presentation and you did a horrible or mediocre job at doing the loan, would we have gotten the referral? She goes, probably not. Okay. I said, had I not done the presentation and you did an awesome job at closing the loan, would you have gotten the referral? She goes, maybe. I go, well, let me ask you this. How many loans have you done in the last couple months that you've gotten a current client referral from? She goes, none. Okay. Do you think that you're a different loan officer in every deal? She goes, no. I go, okay. So it begs the question that no matter how good of a job you are being a loan officer, the client, more often than not, isn't going to refer you. So let's just call that no. So setting the expectation, doing a mediocre or less job isn't going to get you a referral, and not doing the presentation and doing an awesome job as the loan officer doesn't necessarily turn into a referral. But if you set the stage and then you remind them during the process, it's almost a 60 to 70% guarantee that you will either get a current client referral or a past client referral within 2 months of closing. I said, which business model would you like? Calling realtors who you don't know, like, and trust, and they don't know you from Adam, trying to sell them on the concept that you're really, really good, which, by the way, Katie, I'll teach you how to do all that too. Or would you rather just get calls every day from people who go, oh my gosh, my brother, my sister, my aunt, my uncle, my coworker said that I should call you. They said you did a great job. Can you help me buy a house? Which business model would you prefer to work with?
Yeah, I definitely want the second.
It's not even really a question. I mean,
no, it's not
really
a question.
100 out of 100 people are going to answer the same way.
Right.
Do you get what it is that I'm sending?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you hear? What are you taking away from this? In a very short order, can you kind of surmise what have you really kind of, what's sinking into you right now?
That if I don't ask, they're not going to know that that's what I want. And if I only ask them sometimes, they're not going to know that I'm really serious about it. So I definitely need to tell them that I'm serious about it.
And it starts with the very first conversation. You got to set the stage. That's probably the #1 failure that most LOs have. They don't They don't set the stage. They don't make it an agreement.
Yeah, no.
You do, and I'll make Katie, you probably do, and not probably. Zach wouldn't, you wouldn't be on Zach's team if you didn't do an amazing job. Because you do such an amazing job, doesn't it get frustrating when you're trying to accomplish something and you know you deserve it, you know that you're capable of it, but not enough people know about it?
Yeah,
And there's only one
crazy.
person to blame for that. There's only one person to blame for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
And
me.
it's not because you didn't want to, but we're uber sensitive to feeling like we're leaning on people. I don't want you to lean on anybody. That's why we don't talk to people about our business, because it always sounds like or comes out as we're leaning on them.
Right.
I'm sure you've been in conversations with people who go, what do you do? I do loans. You're like, oh, now they're expecting me to talk about rates. I hate that. Every time I tell somebody I do loans, they're like, oh, what's today's rate? I'm like, to be honest, I'm not even on that side of the business anymore. But I do have a person who takes great care of his clients and gets a very high level of referrals from every client he works with because he's a relationship amplifier. Or you tell them that you have a triangle of trust practice. And they're going to be like, what's that? You're like, well, it just so happens. See, the problem that we have as a whole, and we'll work on this, is people's perception of us. We can't alter people's perception of us when they first meet us, but the moment we open our mouth, we can control it like you can't believe. That's why what you say and what comes out of your mouth is so powerful. We can choose to have people think of us just as a loan officer, or we can have people think of us as relationship amplifiers who build great relationships with people who advocate us because we take the stress and the anxiety and the unknown out of going through a home purchase. I think I would respond differently to somebody who says that that's what they do for a living than, oh, I'm a loan officer. Would you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Hands down. Definitely.
So this is what our conversations are going to look like for the next several weeks until you get comfortable believing that you have value, that your value is something that you can articulate, that you can actually show up and be the prize, that you can actually show up and be the person that goes, listen, I'm better at this than all of you guys. I can teach you how to talk to your clients better than you can talk to your clients. What I'm teaching you is all transferable to realtors. And we'll take this conversation about the triangle of trust, and I'll teach you next week how to put that into a realtor conversation when you meet with them, or get them to meet with you, especially on all the listing agents that you're talking to.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, awesome?
Awesome, super awesome. Yes, very excited about this.
Super awesome. That makes me feel good. Cool.
Yeah, and I've already thanked Zach for you after our first conversation. So
Good.
I'm going to thank
Good.
him again because he doesn't
Good.
have to do this. He didn't have to introduce us, and I'm super excited. So
do you see how easy and compelling you can be when you get your needs met?
yes. Yep.
Do you get the correlation between how I could be you and you could be one of your clients?
Yes, absolutely.
You see the power in making it clear about why I do what I do?
Yes, I do.
And if you get good at talking about this to people, people will start talking more about you. I promise.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
And the best part about it is, it's free.
Yeah.
I mean, Katie, you're doing the work anyway. You're slaving out in the trenches every single day anyway. Why not get paid a little bit more and have a little bit more opportunity because of it, just by tweaking just a few little conversations that you're having, and let people know what you are. And really, not what you are, why you are.
Right.
You're really good at this job and this business because of why you are. I mean, you probably have amazing characteristics and qualities about you that make it very easy for people to want to talk to you and to work with you. So instead of just hoping, and I use the word hope as it's a drug, like hopium's a drug in my world. If you hope that you're going to wake up and get business, well, you're going to be an addict to that the rest of your life, and you're going to be constantly going through withdrawals until you get your next fix. And that's a bad way to do business, especially in this industry. I'm going to take the hope out of your language, and I'm going to teach you how to be intentional and deliberate with them, so that when you pick up the phone, you already know you're going to get a thank you, and you already know you're going to remind them to refer you. And you're going to get so good at this that your conversations are going to be less about what you need from them and more about getting them to say thank you and capitalizing on those moments so that they go out there and tell the world how great of a person and a professional you are, so that they can help you grow your business organically and what I consider to be the most fulfilling and genuine way to do it.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because I don't want to sound not organic.
You're not going
or
to.
like not, you know what I mean? I don't want to sound like that. That's what I always told
Nobody
Zach.
does.
I'm not a salesperson. I'm a people's person. There's a difference. I don't want to sell anybody
I
anything.
was never. That's why I've learned this. Why do you think I got so good at this? It was a survival tactic, Katie. This was a survival tactic for me. I couldn't sell. I was horrible at selling. But you put me in front of people, and I'm an amazing relationship person. I understand the connections and how to make them with people and how to get them to trust me. That's what I became very efficient and very good at. And that's why this conversation with me and you is so perfect, because I see exactly what you are and what you're in, and I can help you get out of it, but I can only tell you how to do it. I can't do it for you. And that's where, if you decide to really commit to this, I promise you that you will see results almost instantaneously, but it's based on how consistent you are with the conversation and how deliberate you are with every conversation that you're having with people. It's not picking up the phone and just blowing through it. It's picking up the phone going, does this client know that I need their help? And if they don't, then you need to make sure they know. And every client that closes that they don't know you need help, that's just one more person away from you getting closer to where you want to be.
Right. It's gonna be good.
I'm hoping the sigh that I'm hearing from you is not like I'm so bored, but this is actually
no, it's not. Like, now my brain's just freaking out. Like, now
overdrive.
it's like, yeah, because it could be super easy, I think, and I make it harder than it has to be.
It absolutely is harder than you make it out to be. Did I ask you last week to say thank you to people?
You didn't.
Okay. So here's what your homework assignment is this week. At the very least, you can have these, the triangle of trust conversations with people if you want. Take a moment, replay the message, and type out a script if that's what makes you comfortable. At the very least, every time you hear the word thank you, just tell the person on the phone, hey, thanks for noticing. Zach and I work really hard at making a process that's referable. We would love to work with somebody you care about. Please don't keep this a secret. That was what, 15 seconds maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's super, because right now all I'm saying is tell all of your friends about us, when I can really just say this. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, don't tell all of your friends. Listen to the words that I'm using very, very carefully here. Please, thanks for noticing. It means the world to Zach and I that we're delivering on a very, that we're delivering on our promises to you. It would mean the world to us if we had a chance to work with somebody you care about. Can you promise to not keep us a secret? There's a lot of very slight, very specific words that are being used there so that it doesn't sound salesy or wordy or leaning or ambiguous. It's, you mean the world. We appreciate. We would be honored. Please don't keep us a secret. people you care about. These are all very deliberate things that I've implemented into that phrase because it evokes emotion and it narrows the brain to think about the people they care about, not the people they know. People know a ton of people. I don't want to know your 500 people on Facebook. I just want you to
Right.
think about the 5 to 10 people you care about.
Yeah, it makes sense now.
You get it.
I do.
You get it. So at the very least, your homework assignment is that. I want you to come back next week with some success stories on just how the conversations go. I'm not expecting you to get a referral. If you do, great. But if you don't, just the fact that you're having the conversation is going to give you the confidence to be more comfortable to have more of them and to be able to be more fluid and to be more real with people. And that's what's going to get you to the place where everybody's going to be like, hey, we like this.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can do that. I could do this.